On an all-new Dr. Phil. The world moves on, but you just can't. Newsmaking nightmares. You believe that Jerome was wrongfully convicted.
Oh, I know he was wrongfully convicted.
He's in prison for how long?
Life.
You feel guilty when you're happy.
It makes me physically sick.
How to move on. You saw someone getting shot and killed.
I was made out to be a hero, and I was like, no, I don't carry guilt. That's something that I feel I'm going to carry till the day I die.
Let's do it.
Have a good show, everybody. Here we go.
This is a safe place to talk about hard things.
Stand by. We'll count you down.
Today is going to be a changing day in your life.
5, 4.
Get ready to take care of you. Today's guests say there was a time when the nation's spotlight focused squarely on them. They were the news. But what happens when that spotlight fades and is pointed somewhere else? The news crews pack up their cameras and vans and move on to the next story. The adrenaline that helped you survive diminishes, and you are left with the exhaustion and aftermath. The world moves on, but you just can't. You are stuck, and the silence is deafening. The loneliness is all that's left. That's exactly what happened to sisters Ashley, Fallon, and Ebony, who say their lives were forever changed in October 2008. Take a look.
On October 31st, 2008, I heard knocking and banging on the door. By the time I got downstairs, my brother had already been put in handcuffs and taken away. I found out later the story was described as a drive-by shooting. They were at a football game. My brother said, well, you can ride with me to the after party. The shooter was allowed to ride. There was about 6 of them in the car total. My brother, Jerome Burgess, was driving the vehicle, but he had nothing to do with the shooting. The individual whose life was taken was actually a friend of my brother. They painted my brother out to be this menace to society. They never took into consideration that my brother wasn't in a gang. He was college bound. My brother's nickname is Oops. He was given it at birth. They said that was a gang alias, and a gang gave him that name. That's not accurate at all. They charged my brother with felony murder and aggravated assault. The day of the verdict, when they said guilty, my mother let out this scream. We were shocked. What the judge stated was that due to mandatory sentencing, he had to give my brother life in prison. We never saw that coming. My brother had no violent criminal history, nothing like that on his record at all. My brother has been incarcerated for 12 years now.
I know he's dealing with a lot, and I know it's heavy on him mentally, emotionally, financially. My family is just drained. I can't enjoy my life fully because he can't enjoy his. Can I live a functional life and be happy if my brother can't do the same?
Well, guys, it's good to meet you. And you believe that Jerome was wrongfully convicted.
Oh, I know he was wrongfully convicted.
Do any of you have any doubt at all?
Not at
No
all.
doubt.
And some of this is, in your opinion, was just totally misconstrued. Like his nickname that he was given at birth, what was the name?
It's Oops. It's common among our family. We get names as babies.
Right.
That's always been his nickname.
Yeah.
The DA said that a gang gave him that name.
So they said this was a gang handle, and it's something that he had since birth. But this was presented in court. Did anybody stand up and refute that?
We did. As a family, we did. His attorney also said the same thing. He was wearing school colors, which is navy blue and orange. They said those are gang colors.
Right.
Where's the proof? Where's the evidence in that?
He's in prison now, and he's in for how long?
Life.
Without chance of parole?
Correct.
Okay, so you don't expect, if things stay the way they are, you don't expect him to take another breath of fresh air, free air, to be out and be able to sit with you, to be at home, to be around the table. He's gone from your life forever. Only time you can see him is in prison.
As of right now, yes.
And when you do go to see him, it sometimes can create problems for him.
Definitely.
What happens when you go to see him? Ebony, what happens when y'all go to see him?
It's very hard to leave him there. It's my little brother. I've always felt great responsibility for all of my siblings. So for a long time, I felt a lot of guilt, like I did something wrong for him. I don't know. I just blamed myself for a long time. And I know it's not true. It's just, that's how we were raised, to just feel responsible for one another.
And in your mind, when you say you blame yourself, Fallon, do you as well? Do you blame yourself for this, Fallon? In some way, do you feel like you failed him?
Sometimes, not often, because I just feel in general that this situation is just unjust. So what keeps me motivated and strengthened is just knowing that he's there wrongfully.
All of you have said, to some degree, you feel guilty when you're happy, when
absolutely.
you're with family, when you're experiencing joy, enjoying each other's company, you're together having dinner or celebrating or whatever. You do have a sense of guilt because you're doing it and you know he can't.
Yeah.
It makes me physically sick sometimes.
Fallon, you say it's hard to even stay strong for your family, for your children. What is it y'all are saying to yourselves that connects those two? I don't have any trouble understanding that you're sad that your brother's in prison, but you're putting yourselves in prison too. You're saying we can't live, we can't have joy, we've got this guilt that's robbing us of our quality of life because he's in jail. And I understand that you're sad for him, I understand that you miss him, but it's actually eroding your life. And I'm trying to get, what is it you're saying to yourselves that you don't give yourself permission to be happy, to be joyful because he's not there with you?
I don't think it's what, I'm saying to myself. It's more so knowing that he's in there wrongfully. I feel like if he was there and he actually committed a crime, it would probably be easier to swallow. But knowing that you don't have a criminal history, you were college bound and working and taking care of your family, which is what you've always done, to know that you were doing all those things and now you can't, that's very painful.
And you're raising his daughter.
I am.
And there's no greater gift you could give him than the peace of mind that he gets knowing that someone that loves him and that he loves is watching out for his daughter and making sure that she has a safe place to be and surrounded by people that love her.
That's correct. My niece was born 2 days after my brother was arrested, so she only knows her father in prison through letters and prison visits, really. What life is that for a child? How do you grow up then? What do I tell her? She only know her father that way. She doesn't know him as a free man.
Right. Well, one thing you can do for her is to role model for her. And if you role model guilt and sadness and emptiness, then she'll grow up learning that that's how you behave, that's how you exist, that's how you feel. And you certainly don't want to do that. You want to model for her to be a strong woman and to experience joy and give herself permission to be happy and all. When you guys go see Jerome, sometimes he gets grief because he has visitors, right? What happens to him when he has visitors? Oh,
so many different things. When we visit him last, or even a card in the mail, we write him a lot and send him cards and things like that and try to go visit him. There's a lot of jealousy that goes on. So you received a visit and I didn't. People have threatened his life because he had a visit. So he called me and said, Ashley, I just want to go to the hole. I said, you want to go to the hole for what? He said, I feel safer in the hole. Somebody can take my life out here.
So he rather spend time in the hole.
You know, when it's time to get the clothing package, for example, it's a winter package coming up where we get him, you know, long johns and things like that. And, you know, his bunkmate or something like that don't have that kind of support or, you know, don't have family, you know, they're envious of that. So, you know, he has to constantly be on edge if they're gonna, you know, retaliate.
Are these sisters helping or hurting the situation with the pain that they're suffering, the sacrifices that they're making? And, you know, really, they're denying themselves certain things in their lives. They're suffering for him, and we're going to talk about that when we come back. What do you do in this situation? We'll discuss it all when we get back. There were things at trial that didn't come out.
They know he didn't plan on shooting anybody, but that didn't matter.
I want to say some things to you that you're going to have to think about. Tomorrow, chest feeder, birthing body. By being more trans-inclusive, are we erasing women?
Women are female and men are male. It's okay to say that.
Having female anatomy and being a woman are two different things.
Well, what is a woman then?
I'm a birthing parent.
Only female humans actually give birth.
Is this a valid debate, and is it going too far?
We are born biological women. We are different. We are different.
That's tomorrow. Then on Thursday, Nate went viral with a video mocking LeBron James. You did lose your job.
You made it a racist issue.
There's nothing racist about my videos.
That's Thursday.
I wrote Dr. Phil because I need my family. We have to find some ways to cope. I still have to get up and go to work. I still have to raise my brother's child. How do I effectively do that with this burden just weighing on me? What does that look like? I'm in this emotional roller coaster. How do I find some relief for my family? Can I just be okay?
Well, sisters Ashley, Fallon, and Ebony say that after their younger brother was sentenced to life in prison for murder in 2008, their lives came to a screeching halt. They believe he was wrongfully convicted, and they feel a lot of frustration and sometimes guilt that makes it impossible to move forward. You play the what-if game, right?
All the time. All the time. The day in question, my mom told me to give him a call just because he had the truck too long, and I didn't. So, of course, I blame myself.
You play the what-if game and say, you know, wow, if I had just stepped up, if I had said something, if I'd done something, if I'd have said, get home, be where you ought to be, then it might not have happened. And there were things at trial that didn't come out. That he didn't get, you feel like he didn't get a fair trial because they make deals and pleas and all of this. And he got caught up in the law that if a crime happens, everybody that was there at the time gets the same treatment as the person that did the crime. So if he's in the car and somebody in the car shoots somebody, then everybody in the car is the same as the person who pulled the trigger.
Right.
That's how the law treated this situation.
Yeah. They initially charged my brother with malice murder. With malice murder, you have to prove intent. They later changed it from malice to felony. With felony murder, you don't have to prove intent. Right. So they know he didn't plan on shooting anybody, know that there was a gun. They know that, but that didn't matter.
I want to say some things to you that you're going to have to weigh and you're going to have to think about, but I want to plant in your mind here. You feel some guilt for it, but feelings aren't facts. So we have to separate feelings from facts. The facts are you had nothing to do with this. So now he's been in there 12 years and you've been hurting for 12 years. Misery is not a strategy. Long suffering is not a strategy. You know, people sometimes say, you know, time heals all wounds. It's not time that heals your wounds. It's what you do with that time. If there is a strategy you can pursue, if you can engage the Innocence Project, if you can do something where you actually have an action-oriented strategy that you commit to, that you engage with, then you have a strategy. Survivor's guilt, you surviving this situation and being out when he's in, is really a symptom of PTSD.
Yes.
And that's really where you guys are. And you think, well, wait a minute, what is the post-traumatic stress disorder that we have? What's the trauma? Well, the trauma is seeing your brother ripped from your lives and put in prison where his life's in danger every day. That's traumatic, and all the anxiety and depression and guilt and all that comes with that is very real. And I'm saying that's what survivor's guilt is all about.
But let's also talk about those contributing factors. Let's talk about racial biases. Let's talk about those things. Let's talk about these laws that disproportionately affect Black and brown people. My brother's supposed to be a teacher right now. That's what he was supposed to be doing. He's not supposed to be in prison. He comes from a really good family. We're good people. We don't deserve this at all. And that's why it's so hard to go on.
So you think the legal and prison system is biased against Blacks?
Definitely.
Well, now, I've studied that very carefully, and you are dead right.
They looked at that young Black man with his cornrows and his dark skin, and they said, you're a gang member. They seen that blue and orange, and they said, you're a gang member. How can you say he's a gang member? How do you do that? Because he has cornrows and he has dark skin?
You know, most of my professional career has been spent in the litigation arena. And in America, you're entitled to the best defense money can buy. And if you are Black or brown or poor, and if you are Black, brown, and poor, you are out of luck. That's the absolute truth. The defense that you're going to get, the consideration you're going to be given, is way, way different than if you're not. You are 100% correct. And that's why I'm saying all of that can be rolled in to a plea to reopen this and relook at this. That's why I'm saying we need a real strategy. Stop suffering in misery and let's start doing something.
I believe in his innocence. I know he's innocent.
Then
so whatever I have to do.
Then you hear what I'm saying. We need to take action, and we'll do it. Fair enough?
Fair.
You guys want to partner on this?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. I can make noise.
Me and you both. Let's make it happen.
So we'll work on this together.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Fair enough?
Yes.
All right. All right, coming up, my next guest and his wife say that after he intervened in a hate crime shooting in 2017, his life haven't been the same. Stay tuned.
Patrons told Kansas police a man had yelled, "Get out of my country," at two customers.
Somebody yelled, he's back, he's got a gun, and that's when he started shooting.
32-year-old Srinivas Kujabotla was killed.
As soon as he lowered the gun, I was up and like jumping over people to try to stop him.
My next guest, Ian, is also dealing with unexpected struggles after he was involved in a shocking story that generated headlines around the world in 2017.
Patrons told Kansas police Wednesday night a man had yelled, "Get out of my country," at two customers before opening fire and fleeing the scene.
Looks like a white male with a scarf on his neck and medals on his chest.
5 hours later and 70 miles away in Missouri, police arrested a suspect, 51-year-old Adam Purinton. Police said Purinton had allegedly disclosed to a bartender that he'd shot two Middle Eastern men. But they weren't Middle Eastern. They were Indian Hindus here on work visas for jobs in high tech. 32-year-old Srinivas Kujabotla was killed, and 32-year-old Alok Modasani was wounded. The third man, 24-year-old Ian Grillett of Grandview, Missouri, was also shot after he tried to intervene.
I was just doing what anyone should have done for another human being. It's not about where he's from or his ethnicity. We're all humans.
Well, Ian recalls the events of the shooting just clear as day, but he's also still living with both physical and emotional scars that haunt even his happiest moments.
The night of February 22nd, 2017, me and some friends were at Austin's Bar and Grill. We had noticed somebody giving the two victims a hard time. He was being racist, and I remember him saying, like, get out of my country. We helped escort him out of the bar. Thought it was, done and over with, and about 25 minutes later, somebody yelled, he's back, he's got a gun, and that's when he started shooting. I did witness the victims being shot. As soon as he lowered the gun, I was up and jumping over people to try to stop him. I thought he was out of ammunition. I went after him. It went from me trying to grab his shoulder to me pushing the gun down away from my face because it was all in the same motion. So it actually went through my hand and then hit the collarbone, bounced around in there a little bit, sitting right about in there now. When it hit me, it dropped me to my knees, bouncing off my spine. Luckily, within a few seconds, I tried to get back up and go help, and he was gone already. He jumped right in his car, and he drove. He was arrested later that night, about 2.5 hours from where the shooting took place. The following day, when I woke up and was like, holy crap, that wasn't a dream, for one. My arm was in this big yellow cheese block looking thing, and I was like, man, what the heck happened? It was frustrating. I was made out to be a hero, and I was like, no, that wasn't the case. I was just trying to do what was right. I'm a huge believer in, just doing what's right, and it'll, in turn, lead you to living a good life. So, I believe in karma. Adam Purington ended up being sentenced with 1 charge of murder, 2 attempted murders, as well with the hate crime, and in total, it ended up being 3 life sentences. I think about Serenivas pretty much on a daily basis. What if I could have done something more, to stop him before, if I would have tried to talk to him when we escorted him out or, called the cops. All those things run through your head, what if I could have done something to make this to where a man wasn't senselessly taken from his wife? I carry guilt on a day-to-day basis, and that's something that I feel I'm going to carry till the day I die.
Ian, Colleen, it's good to meet both of you.
Likewise. Thanks for having me.
Colleen, what inspired you to contact me about Ian?
Ian's one of the most incredible people I've ever met in my life, and I'm so fortunate to get to be his wife, and I hate that he's going through that. And not just that, but I feel like this is also something that's a very real thing, survivor's guilt.
Ian, is she accurate in that? When you hit certain milestones in your life, do you reflect on that and say, wow, I'm doing this, but if I'd done something different, then I wouldn't be the only one doing this right now?
Yeah, most definitely. Definitely something that even the smallest things, it can bring you back and, make you think about, what could have been, what should have been. For Serenivas and his widow.
You were listening to the first part of this episode where I was talking to these 3 lovely ladies here. Survivor's guilt is a very real thing, but it's not a diagnosis unto itself. It's a symptom of post-traumatic stress disorder. And that's what I think you're experiencing as well. Do you think that's true?
Oh, yeah, definitely. The best way to be able to put it would be exactly that. It's a side effect of the PTSD from that night.
Yeah, you saw someone getting shot and killed. That's enough to create PTSD. On top of that, you also got shot and could have easily been killed. That certainly qualifies. You put those 2 things together, and it has a profound effect on you mentally, emotionally, neurologically, and now expressing itself behaviorally. But I want to talk about that when we come back.
When people throw out the hero card involving me, I normally try to deflect that back. I wasn't a hero that night. I was just some crazy guy that chased after the other crazy guy with a gun trying to stop him. The true heroes in my eyes that night were the ones that came out of the darkness to help save my life. You never heard about them or anything like that, but then They carry these scars and the emotional damage of it. There was a lot of heroes there that night. I don't see myself as one of them. Nobody's asking them, are you okay?
Now, I've asked Ashley, Fallon, and Ebony to stay with me here because I think they're experiencing survivor's guilt, secondary to PTSD, that I want to talk to Ian about here. I got down to being as basic as looking up guilt in the dictionary. Guilt is a noun, and it's defined as the fact of having committed a specified or implied offense or crime, and the feeling that you have about having done that. Guilt. Guilt over having done something wrong. You didn't do that. So are we feeling the wrong emotion here? Are we labeling this wrong?
Yeah, I guess you could say that.
You're experiencing some anxiety and some depression associated with the feeling that you maybe could have and should have done more. And that makes you uneasy. And like I said to you three, feelings aren't facts. And the facts are you didn't do anything wrong here to feel guilty about. What you're feeling is empathy and humanity and sorrow, plus anxiety that's associated with the PTSD for being involved in all of this. These are very normal things, but they're just mislabeled here.
Gotcha. It makes sense. Just it's some viewing the glass, I guess, kind of what you're saying. It's how you want to look at it.
And then we start working on the anxiety and the PTSD, which is something completely different than the survivor's guilt part of this, because I think really you're experiencing some very real humanity and empathy, which is a good thing. Will you give that some thought?
Yeah. Yeah, most definitely. I mean, anything that could possibly help, I mean, is always a good idea.
It's a good thing to feel for other people. Anyway, think about that, and I want y'all to listen in as we go along. When we come back, we're going to meet a woman who says her memories of childhood abuse came flooding back when she came across an article in the news. You'll see what I mean when we come back.
I was molested from the time I was a toddler up until around 10 or 11 years old. It was a person that my family knew. The person who abused me was arrested recently for abusing 2 minor children. I died on the inside that day. I truly believed that the abuse had ended with me.
Tomorrow, chest feeder, birthing body. By being more trans-inclusive, are we erasing women?
Women are female and men are male. It's okay to say that.
Having female anatomy and being a woman are 2 different things.
Well, what is a woman then?
I'm a birthing parent.
Only female humans actually give birth.
Is this a valid debate, and is it going too far?
We are born biological women. We are different. We are different.
That's tomorrow. Then on Thursday, Nate went viral with a video mocking LeBron James. You did lose your job.
You made it a racist issue.
There's nothing racist about my videos.
That's Thursday. Our next guest, Nancy, claims after she read an article in news about someone being arrested for the sexual abuse of 2 children, she was blindsided by past memories.
I was molested from the time that I was a toddler up until around 10 or 11 years old. It was a person that my family knew. The sexual abuse happened every few months. I knew that it was wrong, but I knew that something wasn't right. I felt shame. I felt really confused. When I was in the 4th grade, I pulled out most of my hair. I went from making good grades in school to failing everything. I look back at pictures and I see pictures of this little girl who was smiling, but I was a shell of a child. The abuse ended the summer before my 4th grade year. The person who abused me was arrested. I woke up one morning to have coffee, flipped open my laptop to check the local news, and that person's picture was staring me in the face. This person was arrested for abusing 2 minor children. I died on the inside that day. I truly believed that the abuse had ended with me. I did not realize that this person still had access to children. I never would have allowed anyone else to go through what I've gone through. Those children's lives are forever changed, and I don't know how to live with that.
Well, Nancy, it's good to meet you.
You as well.
You're sitting at home, and you get up, open your computer, you see a perpetrator that has victimized some children, and what do you say to yourself?
How has it continued to happen?
This started when you were 2 years old.
Correct.
Now, let's keep this in mind, because it's what happens sometimes when we look back on that is you look back on it with adult sensitivities, and it's easy to hold your 2-year-old self to the standards that you think about it as an adult. You have to remember you're 2. What did you say to yourself? What was your internal dialogue about all this?
That I must have somehow asked for it to happen. That I must have somehow wanted it to happen. That I'm somehow to blame for what happened to me.
And how did you come to that conclusion?
When I was 16, I went to someone that I trusted to tell them what had happened to me. And they voiced that they already knew what had happened to me and that they had known all along. I knew in that moment that I was unimportant. I became unimportant that day.
Because you didn't matter enough for anyone to put forth any effort to intervene on your behalf, to stand in the gap for you.
2-year-olds can't intervene on their behalf. 5-year-olds, 8-year-olds, 10-year-olds.
And now you've been told that those who could have knew about it, and it was just too much trouble.
It was too much trouble. I just wasn't important enough.
If you want to play the what-if game, then let's play it out. When we come back, I want to do that. I want to play this what-if game, but we're going to play it out to the end. We'll be right back.
I have worked very hard as an adult to try and get past what happened to me. I don't want it to rule my life. I am looking for a way to deal with the guilt that I feel because I didn't go to the police or didn't press charges, that someone else's life has been affected. I absolutely feel responsible.
Well, Nancy claims she experienced years of sexual abuse in her childhood that took its toll on her as a child, of course, and then well into adulthood as well. She thought she tucked all those memories away until she read an article in the news announcing the arrest of her alleged abuser for the abuse of 2 other children. She says she felt like she died when she read it and has been dealing with overwhelming guilt ever since, because you say, if I had done something to take that player off the chessboard, then perhaps those 2 children wouldn't have had to suffer. Correct. If I had done something.
Yes.
So the what-if game you play, and I say, let's play it, but let's play it out to the end. So you're saying, what if I had gone and told someone?
What if I told someone else?
Yeah. And that's the feeling you have, but let's check the facts. When you're 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, you don't have the ability to do that. You've been told don't, you've been threatened, you've been all the things that predators do when they groom their victims and have that power differential where they control their victims. When you get to the point that you find that ego strength to finally reach out and tell someone in power, someone in authority, you're rejected. You're told, yeah, I know. It's okay, I know. So you did tell somebody. So we're going to play the what if. What if I told somebody? Well, you did tell somebody. So now you get the message, it doesn't matter. I mean, if you're talking to a friend, a child that's been through the same thing and did what you did and went and reported it and then feels bad about not going further, would you hold them to a higher standard?
No.
But you hold yourself to a higher standard.
But I don't know how not to feel responsible.
Well, that's why I keep saying feelings aren't facts. If she did what any reasonable person would be expected to do, stand up for her right now. There's power in forgiveness, and it starts with you. You know, I've said several times in this hour that feelings are not facts. We have feelings, but we have to look at the facts. And there's a formula for determining whether or not the thought you're having is rational or irrational. An irrational thought, they aren't based on facts. So if you're having a thought, ask yourself, is this based on fact or is it not? And if it's not based on fact, it's not rational. And irrational thoughts are not in your best interest. So if you're having a thought, you have to ask yourself, is this in my best interest? And if it's not, then it's not a rational thought, because rational thoughts are based on fact and are in your best interest. So if you're having a thought about, you know, do I hate myself because of what I didn't do, is that based on fact? Well, I did do something, and it's not in my best interest to say I hate myself. So that's not a rational thought. So you would reject that. Irrational thoughts do not move you towards healthy goals. Irrational thoughts don't generate what you want. They generate unhealthy conflict and sabotage relationships. So if you're having a thought that generates unhealthy conflict and sabotages relationships, get away from it. And they often put you in harm's way. So that's not what you want. So very simply, a rational thought is based on verifiable fact. It's in your best interest. It does get me what I want and need, and it does protect and prolong your life. It's just that simple. So when you have a thought, just write those 4 things down. That's a rational thought. And if it doesn't meet those 4 criteria, hit the eject button and throw it out. That's how you test the difference between a factual, rational thought and an irrational feeling. I want to thank all of my guests today. And if you want to keep up with all things Dr. Phil, then scan the flow code on the screen that you see right now, and it will link you to exclusive content you cannot get anywhere else. Don't forget to follow and subscribe to my podcast, Fill in the Blanks, where you will find really entertaining conversations that I think will really help you live your life to the fullest. I do this in a very conversational way, where I talk to you about things that you really encounter in your life. I try and really provide tools and techniques to navigate the world and help you star in your own life. Because if you don't, who will? I don't care if you're a teacher, a plumber, a butcher, a baker, or a candlestick maker, you need to star in your own life. And I want to talk to you about how to do that. And check out Robin's podcast, I've Got a Secret with Robin McGraw. She's talking about how to feel empowered and informed to live your happiest, healthiest life. Check both of them out for free on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Stay safe. We'll see you next time. So long.
Tell me, what are you suffering with?
The little moments in life that are, supposed to be big, important, special moments, kind of in a sense almost takes a backseat to like my guilt and the way that I feel.
Do you ever feel angry that it even happened?
Yeah, it makes me wonder, like, what else could I have done?
But understand, though, that the guilt that you feel is a normal part of the grieving process. It should be divided basically into two different parts. What is realistic guilt from this process and this event, and what is unrealistic? Realistic guilt is the guilt that you should be looking at the things that you did or didn't do that ultimately came to the ending for this victim. But unrealistic guilt, you wouldn't have changed the outcome. That's unrealistic to think you could talk to somebody who's out of their mind for whatever reason.
That's true. I've never really thought about it like that.
You have to learn to successfully live with that survivor guilt on some level. But only the realistic parts of it, not the unrealistic parts of it. Because it's the unrealistic parts that keep going and haunting you more than anything. Because you feel bad because you weren't hurt. But all of those things will give you a mastery and a feeling of control over it. Because right now it feels so out of control. Mobilize yourself. You're getting stuck in feeling bad about it. But if it's not realistic guilt, it's only unrealistic and it's crippling you.
Yeah, like I said, I felt like I've been in kind of a rut for like 5 years in the same place.
You don't want it to be 10 years because you'll be angrier. Because all this time goes on, you're getting angry and then you are mad at you. And then, part of this is self-forgiveness. It's easy to label these things PTSD, depression, or whatever, but the bottom line is it's self-directed anger. Just come out and deal with yourself and forgive yourself and mobilize, help others. You don't know how wonderful you're going to feel.